Nathan Cole was a name that commanded respect in every major business district across America. At 40 years old, he owned Cole Dynamics, a technology empire based in San Francisco that employed over 50,000 people worldwide. News outlets called him a visionary. Rivals called him ruthless. But those who worked closely with him knew one thing for sure: Nathan Cole had no room for weakness. He arrived at the airport that morning in a sleek black car, his assistant Julia scrambling beside him with documents. "Your merger meeting in Dallas begins at 3 sharp, she said nervously. "The investors are flying in from Europe." "They won't wait," Nathan replied coldly. "Neither will I." He strode through the private terminal, eyes fixed ahead, his tailored suit flawless. Emotions had no place in his life. He'd built everything alone. No family, no distractions, no attachments. As he boarded the luxury flight to Texas, he sank into his first-class seat and opened his laptop. Millions of dollars were at stake today. Then the crying started. A sharp, heart-wrenching cry pierced the calm cabin. Nathan's jaw tightened. Some passengers sighed loudly. A man muttered, "Why bring kids on planes?" Nathan slammed his laptop shut. "Julia," he snapped quietly, "handle it." She glanced toward economy class. "It's a toddler, sir." The mother looks overwhelmed. The crying grew louder, not just whining, but desperate, painful sobs. Something strange happened. Instead of anger, Nathan felt an ache deep in his chest. It was unfamiliar, unwelcome, yet impossible to ignore. Minutes passed. The child continued crying. Nathan stood abruptly. "I'll deal with it myself." Julia stared in disbelief. Nathan Cole never dealt with inconveniences personally. He walked down the aisle toward the source of the noise. Passengers stared as the famous billionaire moved past them. Then he saw the child. A little boy no older than 2, his cheeks wet with tears, clutching a faded stuffed rabbit. His tiny chest rose unevenly as he sobbed. Beside him sat a young woman rocking him desperately. "Please, sweetie," she whispered. "Mommy's here." But the boy kept crying. Nathan froze. The child's eyes lifted and met his. Big brown eyes. Familiar eyes. His breath caught. The boy reached out. "Da, da." The single word echoed in Nathan's head. The world seemed to tilt. A shock ran through him, so powerful his knees nearly buckled. He didn't know why, but deep inside, something whispered that this moment would change everything. The moment the young woman lifted her head and met Nathan's eyes, all the air seemed to leave the cabin. Her face drained of color. For a heartbeat, neither of them spoke. Around them, the plane hummed quietly, but the world between them stood still. "And Nathan," she whispered, her voice shaking like she had seen a ghost. His chest tightened. He knew that voice. He knew those eyes. Time folded backward in his mind. Late-night walks along Lake Michigan, laughter over cheap dinners, dreams whispered in tiny apartments when they had nothing but hope. "Emily," he breathed. Passengers nearby leaned closer, sensing something deeper than a crying child. Emily Parker. The woman he had once promised forever. The woman he had abandoned without goodbye. 7 years ago, before money hardened his heart, she had believed in him when no one else did. She had supported him when he failed, held him when he doubted himself, and dreamed of building a family with him. Until success called. And he answered. He left Chicago for Silicon Valley chasing ambition, and in the process, left Emily behind like yesterday's news. He never listened when she called. Never read her messages. Never turned back. Now she sat in front of him with trembling hands and a crying toddler clinging to her chest. Nathan's eyes slowly dropped to the little boy. The child had his eyes. The same deep brown gaze. The same small crease between the brows when upset. His heart began pounding violently. "Emily," Nathan said carefully, his voice barely steady. Is he mine?" Her lips quivered. Tears welled up instantly. "Yes," she whispered. The word hit him harder than any business loss he had ever suffered. Yes. This tiny, fragile boy was his son. For a moment, Nathan couldn't breathe. "You never told me," he said hoarsely. Emily let out a broken laugh mixed with sobs. "I tried," she said softly. "God knows I tried." Her tears spilled freely now. "I called every number I had. I emailed. I went to your old office. Your company told me you didn't want personal interruptions. Your assistant said you were building an empire and had no time for the past." Each word felt like a knife. "I was pregnant and scared," she continued. "I needed you. But every door was closed." Nathan swallowed hard. "I never knew," he whispered. "I know," Emily said quietly. "That's what hurt the most." The toddler whimpered again, pressing his tiny face into Emily's shoulder. She stroked his hair gently. "It's okay, Lucas. Mommy's here." Nathan's chest tightened. "Lucas," he repeated. She nodded. "That's his name. Lucas Parker Cole." Hearing his last name attached to the child made his hands tremble. Nathan slowly crouched down to their level. Lucas peeked at him through wet lashes. His lip quivered. The child reached out again. "Daddy," he whispered weakly. The word shattered what remained of Nathan's emotional walls. Tears blurred his vision. "Yes," he said softly. "I'm here, buddy. I'm right here." Emily wiped her cheeks quickly. "He's been asking for you," she said. "I told him his daddy was busy working, trying to make the world better." Shame burned through Nathan. "He didn't even know what you looked like," she added. "But he still believed you would come." Nathan closed his eyes briefly, pain flooding his chest. "Why is he crying so much?" he asked, noticing the child's uneven breathing. Emily hesitated. Then her shoulders shook. "He's sick," she whispered. Nathan's heart dropped. "What do you mean, sick?" Emily took a shaky breath. "Lucas has a rare heart condition. He was born with it, but it's gotten worse. Some days he can barely breathe. The doctors say he needs surgery soon." Nathan felt dizzy. "How soon?" "Within weeks," she said softly. "If we wait too long, he might not survive." The words felt unreal. "But why are you flying today?" Nathan asked urgently. "We're going to the Dallas Children's Heart Center," she said. "They're running tests to see if he's strong enough for surgery." Her voice cracked. "But even if he is, I don't have the money." Tears streamed freely now. "I've worked double shifts. I sold my car. I sold my furniture. I sold everything I could." She looked at Lucas. "It's still not enough." Nathan's hands clenched. "My son is dying," he whispered. Emily nodded silently. Lucas whimpered again, clutching his teddy bear tightly. Nathan gently touched the boy's tiny hand. It was warm, fragile. Fear rushed through him like never before. He had faced bankruptcy, lawsuits, and corporate wars without blinking. But this terrified him. "You're not doing this alone anymore," Nathan said firmly. Emily looked up, surprised. "I'm here now," he said, voice shaking with emotion. "And I will never leave again." For the first time since the flight began, Lucas's crying softened. He leaned closer to Nathan, resting his tiny head against his chest. And in that moment, Nathan Cole realized that all his wealth had never mattered, until now. For the first time in his life, Nathan Cole didn't know what to do. He had built companies from nothing, negotiated billion-dollar deals, and stared down powerful rivals without fear. Yet now, standing in the narrow airplane aisle with his tiny son pressed against his chest, he felt completely helpless. Lucas's breathing was shallow and uneven. Each soft rise and fall of the little boy's chest made Nathan's heart pound harder. The child's warmth, his fragile grip, his faint whimpers, they were real. This wasn't a nightmare. This was his son. "I'm sorry," Nathan whispered over and over, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." Emily watched them quietly, her eyes swollen from crying. "You didn't know," she said softly, though pain lingered behind her words. "But I should have," Nathan replied. "I should have looked back. I should have listened. I chose money over everything. He gently brushed Lucas's hair with trembling fingers. I thought success would make me happy, he whispered. But I was wrong. Lucas sniffled, looking up at him with tired eyes. Daddy, stay? The little boy asked weakly. Nathan swallowed hard. I'm not going anywhere, he promised. Never again. A flight attendant approached carefully. Sir, would you like us to move you and your family to first class? There's more space and privacy. Nathan nodded immediately. Please. Passengers watched silently as the billionaire CEO carried Lucas down the aisle. Some whispered in shock. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Emily followed closely, holding the worn teddy bear. They settled into spacious seats near the front of the plane. Nathan positioned Lucas carefully against his chest, supporting his tiny back. The child slowly relaxed, soothed by the steady heartbeat beneath his ear. Emily sat beside them, exhausted but relieved. For a moment, no one spoke. The plane continued its journey through the clouds while emotions hung heavy in the air. Tell me everything, Nathan finally said softly. From the beginning. Emily hesitated, then nodded. When you left for California, I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks later, she said quietly. I was scared but excited. I thought you'd come back when you knew. Her voice trembled. But every time I tried to reach you, I was blocked. Your company protected you like a fortress. Nathan clenched his jaw. I was living paycheck to paycheck, she continued. I worked at a diner during the day and cleaned offices at night. When Lucas was born, the doctors told me about his heart. She wiped tears away. They said he might not live long without surgery. But the surgery cost more than I could ever afford. Nathan felt sick. I kept hoping you'd somehow find us, Emily whispered. I kept believing you'd walk through the door one day. He closed his eyes in pain. I should have, he said hoarsely. Some nights, Lucas would cry and ask where his daddy was, she said softly. I told him you were building big things, helping people. Nathan covered his mouth, overwhelmed with guilt. He believed in you, she continued, even when I didn't know how much longer he had. Tears slipped down Nathan's face freely. I failed him, he whispered. Emily shook her head gently. You're here now. Nathan looked at Lucas sleeping against him, his tiny fingers curled around Nathan's shirt. Fear surged again. Emily, he said firmly, I don't care what it costs. I'll bring in the best heart surgeons in the world. I'll fly him anywhere. I'll do whatever it takes. She hesitated. The doctors warned me it's dangerous, she said. There's a chance he might not survive surgery. Nathan's chest tightened painfully. But without it, he definitely won't, he said quietly. She nodded slowly. Nathan stared out the window, clouds drifting by. 4 years, money had solved every problem in his life. Now, it couldn't guarantee the one thing he wanted most. I'm scared, he admitted softly. Emily looked at him in surprise. Nathan Cole never gets scared. He gave a weak smile. I am now. He looked back at Lucas. I've spent my whole life protecting my fortune, he said. I never protected what mattered. Emily reached over and gently placed her hand on his arm. We'll face this together. Nathan nodded. Yes, he said firmly. Together. Lucas stirred slightly, opening his eyes. Daddy, he murmured. I'm right here, champ, Nathan whispered. The boy smiled faintly before drifting back to sleep. Nathan held him tighter, silently making a vow. No matter what happened in the operating room, no matter how much it cost, no matter how many sacrifices it took, he would never walk away again. And for the first time in his powerful life, Nathan Cole prayed, not for success, but for his son's life. The moment the plane touched down in Dallas, Nathan was already on the phone. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled as he held Lucas close. I need a private ambulance at Gate C immediately, he said into the receiver. And alert the pediatric cardiac team at Riverstone Children's Medical Center. Tell them this is Nathan Cole. Within minutes, flashing lights waited on the runway. Emily stared in disbelief as medical staff rushed toward them. You didn't have to do all this, she whispered. "Yes, I did," Nathan replied firmly. "I should have done it years ago." The paramedics carefully transferred Lucas onto a stretcher, attaching monitors to his tiny chest. The steady beeping filled the air. Nathan climbed into the ambulance beside him, gripping his small hand. Emily squeezed in beside them. The sirens wailed as the city blurred past. At the hospital, doctors were already waiting. They rushed Lucas through swinging doors while Nathan and Emily followed closely. "Mr. Cole," a gray-haired surgeon said urgently, glancing at the scans on a tablet. "Your son's condition is critical. His heart is struggling to pump properly." Nathan swallowed hard. "Can you save him?" The surgeon hesitated. "We can try surgery immediately. But it's extremely risky. There's a chance he won't survive the procedure." Emily gasped softly. "But without surgery?" Nathan asked. "He won't make it long," the surgeon said gently. Silence fell. Nathan looked at Lucas, pale and exhausted. He knelt beside the bed, brushing his hair. "Hey, champ," he whispered. "Daddy's right here." Lucas's eyes fluttered open weakly. "Hurts," he murmured. "I know," Nathan said softly. "But the doctors are going to fix your heart." The child nodded faintly. "Be brave," Nathan whispered, forcing a smile through tears. "You're stronger than you know." Lucas squeezed his finger weakly. "Love you, Daddy." The words shattered him. "I love you too," Nathan whispered. He stood slowly and turned to the surgeon. "Do it," he said firmly. "Whatever it takes." They rushed Lucas into the operating room. The doors closed, and the waiting began. Emily collapsed into a chair, hands shaking violently. Nathan paced the floor endlessly. Every second felt like an hour. He watched the clock. Then the door. Then the clock again. Minutes turned into hours. The beeping of distant machines echoed in the hallway. Emily whispered prayers. Nathan stared at the floor, replaying every moment of his past. The nights he chose work over love. The calls he ignored. The future he abandoned. "I would trade everything," he whispered. "All of it." His phone buzzed with business notifications. He turned it off. For the first time in his life, money meant nothing. After 3 agonizing hours, a nurse stepped out briefly. "He's still in surgery," she said softly. "It's complicated." Emily burst into tears again. Nathan clenched his fists. "Please," he whispered under his breath. "Please." Another hour passed. Then another. Finally, the doors opened. The surgeon walked out slowly, exhaustion on his face. Nathan rushed forward. "Is he alive?" he asked breathlessly. The surgeon paused, then smiled faintly. "The surgery was successful," he said. "We repaired the defect in his heart." Emily sobbed loudly in relief. Nathan staggered back, covering his face. "But," the surgeon added gently, "the next 48 hours are critical. His body must accept the repair." Nathan nodded quickly. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you so much." They were allowed to see Lucas in the ICU. Machines surrounded the bed. Tubes and wires covered his tiny body. Nathan's heart ached at the sight. But Lucas was breathing. Alive. Nathan carefully held his hand. "You did it, champ," he whispered. Emily rested her head against Nathan's shoulder. For the first time in years, he didn't pull away. They stood together, united by fear, hope, and love. "I'm not going anywhere," Nathan said quietly. Emily nodded through tears. Neither of them slept that night. They took turns watching Lucas breathe. Every beep of the monitor sent fear through their chests. But with every passing hour, his heartbeat grew steadier. Stronger. By morning, color returned slowly to his cheeks. The doctor smiled gently. "He's fighting," he said. Nathan squeezed Lucas's hand softly. "So am I," he whispered. For the first time in his life, Nathan Cole understood something simple and powerful. Love was not a weakness. It was strength. And he would spend the rest of his life proving it. The hospital room slowly became Nathan Cole's entire world. Days passed, then weeks. Outside, Business deals rose and fell. Stock prices shifted. Meetings were cancelled. But Nathan didn't care. Every morning, he woke in the stiff hospital chair beside Lucas's bed, his back aching but his heart steady as long as he heard the gentle rhythm of the heart monitor. Beep, beep, beep. The most beautiful sound he had ever known. Lucas was still weak, but his color returned little by little. The heavy tubes were removed one by one, replaced by bandages and soft blankets. Emily stayed close, barely leaving the room except to shower or grab quick meals. Sometimes they sat in silence, watching Lucas sleep peacefully. Sometimes Emily told stories about Lucas's early years. How he learned to walk by holding on to furniture, she said one afternoon with a faint smile. How he calls spaghetti long noodles. How he insists on sleeping with his teddy bear every night. Nathan listened to every word like treasure. He had missed so much. "I wish I'd been there," he whispered often. "You're here now," Emily reminded gently. And this time it was true. Doctors came daily with updates. "He's healing beautifully," one said. "His heart is responding better than we expected." Hope bloomed brighter each day. Nathan began bringing small gifts, coloring books, toy cars, storybooks. Lucas's eyes lit up whenever he saw his father walk in. "Daddy!" he would shout happily. Nathan's heart would nearly burst every time. He learned how to feed Lucas slowly, helping him sip juice without getting tired. He learned how to tell bedtime stories with silly voices. He learned how to hold his son when nightmares came. One night, Lucas woke crying. Nathan rushed to him instantly. "Bad dream," Lucas sobbed. Nathan lifted him gently into his arms. "It's okay," he whispered, rocking him softly. "Daddy's here." The child pressed his face into Nathan's chest, calming almost instantly. Emily watched from the bed, tears in her eyes. She had never imagined this moment. The powerful billionaire who once abandoned them was now a gentle father who refused to leave his son's side. One afternoon, Nathan overheard two nurses whispering. "That's Nathan Cole," one said quietly. "He owns half the city." "Really?" the other gasped. "He looks like any other dad here." Nathan smiled softly. For once, that was all he wanted to be. Not a billionaire. Just a father. Guilt still weighed on him, but he no longer let it paralyze him. Instead, he turned it into action. He met quietly with hospital administrators. Within days, he funded a new pediatric heart wing. He covered the medical bills of every child in the cardiac unit. But he didn't announce it publicly. He didn't want praise. He only wanted to make sure no parent ever stood helpless the way Emily had. One evening, he took Emily aside. "I'm setting up a foundation," he said gently, "for children with heart conditions. Free surgeries. Long-term care. No family should suffer because of money." Emily stared at him in shock. "Nathan, that's incredible." "It's the least I can do," he replied. "I wasted too many years chasing wealth instead of helping the people I loved." Tears streamed down Emily's face. "This is the man I always knew you could be." He lowered his head. "I wish I had become him sooner." Later that night, Lucas sat up for the first time without help. "I'm strong now," he announced proudly. Nathan laughed through tears. "Yes, you are. The strongest boy I know." They celebrated with tiny claps and smiles. The doctor confirmed what they had all hoped. "Lucas is recovering faster than expected. In a few weeks, he'll be able to go home." Emily covered her mouth in joy. Nathan felt his knees weaken. Home. A word that suddenly meant something again. That evening, Nathan stood by the window, watching the city lights. All his life, he had chased success, believing it was everything. But success had never hugged him. Never whispered, "I love you." Never needed him the way Lucas did. Emily joined him quietly. "You've changed," she said softly. "I had to," Nathan replied. "Losing him almost broke me. Finding him saved me." She smiled gently. For the first time in years, hope stretched between them like sunlight. And Nathan knew, whatever the future held, he would face it not as a billionaire alone, but as a father and a family. Spring arrived softly in Dallas. Warm sunlight poured through hospital windows, and birds chirped outside the pediatric wing as if celebrating life itself. After weeks of careful recovery, Lucas was finally cleared to leave. The nurse gently removed the last monitor from his chest. "All set, champ," she smiled. "You're officially going home." Lucas's eyes widened. "Home with Daddy?" he asked excitedly. Nathan knelt quickly. "With Daddy," he said firmly. "Every day." Emily covered her mouth as tears of joy streamed down her face. They walked out of the hospital together, not rushed this time, not frightened, not broken. Just grateful. Outside, the sky stretched wide and blue. Nathan lifted Lucas into his arms, breathing in deeply as if the air itself was new. "I promised I'd never leave again," he whispered. "And I won't." Lucas giggled, wrapping his arms around Nathan's neck. "You stay forever." "I will," Nathan said softly. They moved into a quiet home near a sunny park filled with trees and laughter. Nathan sold his downtown penthouse. He wanted space for bike rides, bedtime stories, and family dinners. Simple things. Things he had once ignored. Every morning, Lucas ran across the grass while Nathan chased him, pretending to be slow. "Daddy can't catch me." Lucas laughed. "Oh yes, I can." Nathan shouted playfully. Emily watched from the porch, her heart full. Life slowly found its rhythm again. Doctor visits continued, but each report brought good news. Lucas's heart was growing stronger, healthier. One afternoon, Nathan sat with Lucas building toy towers on the living room floor. "Daddy," Lucas asked thoughtfully, "you go work now?" Nathan smiled gently. "I still work sometimes, buddy. But I'll always be here when you need me. Promise." Promise. And Nathan meant it with everything in him. He restructured his company, promoted managers, canceled unnecessary travel. For the first time, work served life, not the other way around. The foundation he created helped hundreds of children receive heart surgeries. Families who once felt hopeless now held their children with gratitude. Emily often joined him at charity events. They spoke quietly about life, healing, and second chances. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange and gold, Nathan took Emily's hand in the park. "I ruined so much," he said softly. "But I want to spend the rest of my life making things right." She looked into his eyes, no longer cold, no longer distant, just honest. "I don't need perfection," she said gently. "I need presence." He nodded. "You have it." Lucas ran toward them, holding a wildflower proudly. "For Mommy." Emily laughed warmly and accepted it. "For you too, Daddy," Lucas added, handing him another. Nathan's chest tightened with emotion. He knelt down. "You saved me," he whispered. Lucas smiled innocently. "You my hero." "No," Nathan said softly. "You're mine." As the sun set, the three of them sat together on a blanket, watching the sky darken. Nathan reflected on the man he once was. Rich but empty. Powerful but alone. Now, he felt richer than ever before. Not because of money, but because of love. Because of forgiveness. Because of a family he almost lost, and was blessed to find again. Nathan kissed Lucas's forehead. "I spent years chasing success," he said quietly. "But the greatest miracle was finding you." Emily leaned her head against his shoulder. "And staying," she added. He smiled. "I'm not going anywhere." The breeze moved gently through the trees. Lucas yawned sleepily. "Tired, Daddy." Nathan lifted him into his arms. "Time for bed, champ." As they walked home together under the glowing sky, Nathan knew one truth with absolute certainty. He had once owned companies. Now he owned something far greater. A second chance. A family. And a heart finally full. Red heart before you go. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you that love is the greatest wealth, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We share life-changing stories every week that will move you, heal you, and restore hope. Your subscription helps us keep bringing you powerful stories like this one, and it only takes 1 second. Join our storytelling family today, and let's grow together.